Hello, it's Christy. Let's talk about um, COVID 19 and let's listen to this news for a bit and let's discuss because when I started blogging, I talked about COVID and how um, the wave 2 can happen anytime, which is now happening. The world is now opening their businesses, and I'm worried. So let's listen to that.
Face masks in public. Why advice from Canada's top doctor has evolved.
Thinking of it as I'm protecting you and you're protecting me.
The childcare crunch for parents and pleas for help.
That's a long history of politicians thinking childcare is just a private family responsibility.
Small business desperate for rent relief. Why a federal plan doesn't measure up. From downplaying COVID-19 to upheaval, harsh realities in countries with the worst outbreaks. And drawing up a survival plan, the precarious future of museums beyond the pandemic.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Listen to this.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. As parts of the country continue to lift public health restrictions and more people begin to gather in shops and on public transit, there is new guidance tonight from Canada's Chief Public Health Officer about masks. Dr. Theresa Tam now recommends wearing a non-medical mask in situations where physical distancing is not possible.
When we got more evidence about asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic individuals, and that although we don't fully understand their role in transmission, it is an added layer of protection, even for people who don't have symptoms, to wear a mask to prevent transmission to others.
This is my problem here. Do you think people wear masks? I don't think so. It's so easy to say than done, right? I've observed a lot of people in public, and in the stores, or they care less for that stuff. People are not comfortable wearing masks. So let's see what happened here.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took the advice today, wearing a mask as he was driven to Parliament Hill for an in-person sitting of the House of Commons. Non-medical masks are recommended, not mandatory, as a way of protecting others from you. Public health officials stress they are not a substitute for hand washing and physical distancing, which are still the best ways to protect yourself from infection. And though restrictions are beginning to ease, the virus has not gone away. It's still out there, and a second wave of...
It's not gone away, okay? That's so obvious. It's not gone away. So, why let people loose? Go out there and start business and all that stuff. I understand that, people needs money, they need to survive, but still, it's just not right.
infections is possible. Some say even likely, even in places like Nova Scotia, which reported only one new case today.
I heard lots of people saying, oh, the pandemic's over. Wave 1 is coming to an end. That's very different than the pandemic is over. So it's important that we continue to follow the public health rules, even as we enter the recovery phase.
Provinces are making decisions about how to reopen based on the number of new COVID-19 cases trending downward. There are regional differences, of course, but overall, there have been fewer than 1,200 daily new cases reported across Canada for the past 4 days in a row. The curve has flattened in most places. 8 provinces and territories are reporting just 1 or no new cases for at least 2 days now. Ontario and Quebec have a distance to go. There's good news in Quebec, though. New case numbers there dropped below 600 for the second day in a row, with 578 new cases reported today. Ontario had 390 new cases, down from yesterday, but daily new case numbers did dip below 300 earlier this month. Reopening the economy means many people are going back to work. And if you have young children with no childcare or school to send them to, it is a tricky juggling act. Mike LeCouture reports.
There you go.
As provinces try to get their economies back up and flying again, many parents like Sharif Mahmoud face the childcare conundrum. He's expected to be at the office at least a few days a week, but schools and daycares are still closed.
I might have to go to the office sometimes, and then my wife would watch the kids, and then alternatively, like, she might have to go to the office or have meetings, and then I would stay home with the kids and work from home.
Can you show me which one?
But not everyone has that flexibility, and it's exposing the
It's gonna
importance
be
of
hard.
childcare in this country. Global News has confirmed Social Development Minister Ahmed Hussein is looking at ways of providing provinces with more money for childcare on an annual basis. The Prime Minister noted it was a campaign promise and is now more pressing because of the pandemic.
We made more commitments on childcare of working with the provinces to invest in programs that will help more parents, more families, and grow our economies and our communities. We need to continue to do that, particularly right now, and we will be there to work with the provinces as we reopen and respond to childcare needs.
The penny has dropped for a lot of people who weren't paying enough attention.
Childcare policy expert Dr. Susan Prentice says now that politicians are paying attention, Canada needs to create a national childcare system, something the Royal Commission on the Status of Women recommended
That's gonna
50
be a lot
years
of
ago.
work.
If I can be blunt, it's mainly men doing decision making. And I think that that's a long history of politicians thinking childcare is just a private family responsibility.
Without the return of childcare in most provinces, families are on their own to juggle their jobs and their children.
That's
Many
gonna be a
parents say
struggle
it's
for a
difficult
while.
to look too far down the road without knowing who will care for their kids.
Right now, without those support resources, it's almost impossible for parents to return to the office full time. Start again like we did last.
Something governments need to consider as they attempt to relaunch their economies. Mike Lecouture, Global News, Ottawa.
In Manitoba, which reported no new cases today, some things are opening up sooner than was first planned.
Hi.
Starting on
That's my
Friday,
cat
groups
calling
up
me.
to 25 will be
Hey,
able to
look,
gather
okay.
indoors,
Okay.
and groups of up to 50
No, I'll give you
people
treat
will be
later.
able to get together outdoors. Plans are also on.
Now that's Canada, okay? Let's go for Philippines. You know, I think it's early. It's early to do this, okay? This is what Duterte said. Philippines cannot afford another wave of coronavirus infections. Okay? Let's listen to him.
Yung lockdown, they will explain to you thoroughly by Secretary Roque. At mayroon tayong mga tawag niyang new normal.
Ricky,
Ganito ha, for those who would be allowed to go out and work, and for those na hindi pa talaga pwede, remember na itong the easing up of the restrictions, hindi yan sabihin na wala na ang COVID. Just because we allowed certain people, dandahan lang sa para walang, hindi tayo madapa, dandahan lang. Because we cannot afford.
he's saying slow down.
We cannot
because
afford
Philippines
a
cannot
second or third
afford
wave
to have the second and third wave.
na mangyari. Ito yung mabagong mahawa na naman at rarami na naman dahil nga sa mayroon tayong rules na hindi sinunod. So, kindly, one is that
President's wearing mask.
do not go out of your house without a mask. That is a must. Must comply.
Now, worldwide,
Tatapikin ka ng pulis. Hindi ka naman ulihin.
leaders is saying like,
Pero
you
makakahiya sabihin
cannot
sa'yo.
leave your house without a mask.
Madali,
You have to wear mask.
tumabi ka muna. Wala kang mask. Where's your mask? Kung wala kang mask, you in danger na ipapasubo mo yung kaharap mo. Hindi ikaw. Kung gusto mo mamatay, okay lang. Pero yung kaharap mo, hindi pa niya panahon. Tapos mamatay lang just because you do not want to comply. Kaya ako nag-comply ngayon lang. Kasi Then the social distancing. Ito yung new life. Until such time na meron ng vaccine. Meron
Saying
mga
that
medisina but
until
not
we have the vaccine
vaccine.
for the virus, we really have
So
to do
gano'n
this.
yun. Sundin lang ninyo yan, importante masyado. Whether you are really allowed to go out or not, if you are out, wear a mask. It is a must also. Kailangan. Ha?
Wearing mask
Ngayon,
is a must.
Kung wala ka naman talagang gawin, COVID is very lethal. Huwag ka talagang magsugal dyan sa COVID kasi pag tinamaan ka, it can go either way. Punta ka sa punerarya o matulog ka sa bahay ninyo.
Okay, that's what the president of the Philippines is saying, that the Philippines cannot afford the second wave or the third wave. Okay, so what he's suggesting, because he has no option now but continue to open businesses, is to continue to wear masks. And how many millions of people are you talking about to wear masks? There's a lot of them. Okay, so do you think all those people will follow instruction? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so let's go to Trump. US is really suffering right now because not just COVID, but they also have some floods happening over there. So I don't know. Let's see what happens here. All right. And Global is saying something about the United States also.
There is talk of quarantine fatigue in the U.S., though it remains the epicenter of the outbreak. The U.S. has the most cases of COVID-19 and the most deaths. Yet, as Jackson Prosco explains, 1/3 of states are beginning to relax or even end stay-at-home orders.
On the first day back in Georgia, business is not exactly booming.
We're trying to stagger our clients and not just load them in here so there's not so many people in here at one time.
There are few willing to risk it for a haircut or a meal. Movie theaters can reopen. Most are staying closed. There's no point when there are no new releases.
I have 10 employees who are relying on me in this theater for their livelihood, but I'm not going to try and make them choose between their livelihood and their lives.
That's not the case in parts of Texas,
He wanted chips and queso on the patio.
where the mayor of Colleyville
the only
allowed
one wearing
patios
a
to
mask
reopen
over
over the
there.
weekend. There was a 3-hour wait for a seat.
They're sanitizing, they're wiping down, they're not giving anyone someone else's stuff.
Even hard-hit New York is considering a plan to lift restrictions in rural areas by mid-May. Health experts have warned it's likely too much too soon.
What happens if we dial back these social distancing measures, but then have to dial it up again?
Not one state has met reopening guidelines laid out by the Centers for Disease Control. The number of daily infections and deaths remains stubbornly high, and testing rates too low.
And in fact, there may be many waves of infections.
The fear seems to be what happens if the U.S. doesn't at least try to get back to business. White House economic advisors have warned the unemployment rate could rise to levels not seen since the Great Depression. Jackson Prosco, Global News.
Okay. 3 countries we heard. Okay. So, about a week ago, I talked about wave 1 and wave 2 and how I worry about it and that. So now it's happening. Businesses are opening and schools are opening, and what's our choice but follow instructions. But you know what? we'll see what happens, because not everybody will actually follow instructions. Wearing mask here, go in the public and wear mask there. You cannot control people's lives at this point. Like, I don't know, right? So I just want to say, stay safe out there. I mean, if you have children going to school in Canada, they're not forcing you to bring your children to school. I got some friends and family members who are actually sending, not even deciding to send the kids to school because they are so worried, right? It's your own decision how your family becomes safe at this point of this opening of wave 2. All I have to say, I'm suggesting, is stay safe, wear mask when you go outside, when you are nearing around people, and the social distancing is not possible. Just please wear mask when you go shopping. Okay, when you go to work. I don't like wearing masks, but at this point, I have to now. My work gave me a couple of them, and I need to wear them because I decided to go back to work, and I need to feel safe. So all I have to say is be safe out there, and let's follow what's happening in the next few weeks with this opening of businesses while wave 1 is not even over yet. You take care, guys. Have a good evening.